I'm here to talk about The Dark Knight. I'm a huge Batman fan. Talk about Batman a lot. Um, so I could understand if people would think that I would love The Dark Knight. I have a lot of problems with The Dark Knight. It feels like one of the most frustrating Batman films for me. Um, And I can understand why people would like it. I don't get why it's as popular as it is. I can understand why people would love Heath Ledger's performance, and I do think it is very heartwarming how people are still keeping memories of Heath Ledger and honoring him and thinking about how much he means to them. I do think that is very wonderful. Um, I think that, like Batman Begins, the supporting cast is very good. Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, and Morgan Freeman return and give really good performances. Some of the action scenes are well done. Some of them can be pretty exciting. I think that Eric Roberts is pretty fun as Sal Maroni. Um, I think that there's some cool music. But I think that the film is very bland. I think a lot of people love The Dark Knight because it doesn't feel that much like a superhero film, and I actually really don't like that about The Dark Knight. Uh, there um, are a lot of films that aren't superhero films, and I don't like The Dark Knight being turned into one of those type of films and how it feels and what the tone is like. It doesn't feel that much like a Batman film or a superhero film in general. It feels so grounded that it feels like blandness is creeping in, even more so than in Batman Begins. Uh, Harvey Dent, Two Face, one of the most interesting characters in the Batman comics, possibly one of the most interesting comic characters in general. The version in The Dark Knight, I think, is the blandest version of the character that I've ever seen. Where interesting thing about Harvey Dent is a character exploring his duality, and I feel like The Dark Knight doesn't do that very well. It feels like, um, as Harvey Dent, pretty generic sort of nice guy, um, where he seems too perfect and is pretty boring to watch and has way too much screen time for how boring he is. And then his Two Face, it doesn't feel like the voice, the villainous presence is there. Just feels like a guy that who had been so nice is now being a bad guy. It feels very abrupt. It feels forced. And not much time of him as Two Face. A lot of time of him as Harvey Dent, but not much Two Face. And Two Face is the more interesting part of the character, so that's pretty underwhelming. I really don't like the Bruce Rachel romance stuff. They had been childhood friends. It seems like Bruce wants to give up being Batman, wants to give up everything so he can be with Rachel, even though Rachel's in a relationship with Harvey. So I guess Bruce is trying to pressure Rachel into dumping Harvey and then letting Harvey have all the hard work of being the hero while Bruce takes his girlfriend away from him. So Harvey has all the work, all the responsibility, and would lose the love of his life. Doesn't make Bruce look very sympathetic. I feel like he's a jerk to Harvey for a lot of the film, and I feel like he's not even that great to Rachel, uh, putting pressure on her, making it seem like Bruce's only chance of having a normal life is if Rachel dumps Harvey and gets together with him, and I really don't like that. I think it's a really bad romance storyline that makes Bruce look like an unlikable jerk, and I really don't enjoy that. And I don't like his connection to Rachel. It feels like less like a childhood friend that he really does care about, and more just like a obsession, and that is borderline unhealthy, and it feels like Bruce isn't toxic weirdo in the movie, and I really don't enjoy that. And it's hard to care about him and what happens to him. And considering that Batman is a childhood hero of mine, I don't like saying these things, but it's how Bruce comes across in the film. Christian Bale does play the physical parts of Batman very well. Um, has a pretty good presence as Bruce. The Batman performance in The Dark Knight, how Batman speaks, really distracting. It wasn't the best of Batman Begins, but wasn't too distracting. But it's super distracting whenever Batman has a line of dialogue. And Batman isn't the most talkative character in The Dark Knight, but he is still the main character. He still gets plenty of opportunities to talk, and it's hard for the scene not to be ruined and the tone to be ruined. It's hard for things to not fall apart whenever he speaks. The Joker, performance wise, is really good. Heath Ledger gave a really good performance. Not my favorite performance for the Joker, but definitely really good. I'm not the biggest fan of how the Joker is written, though. I feel like the Joker being obsessed with chaos, that makes sense. But it feels like his goal is extremely boring and underwhelming, where the whole thing about Harvey Dent trying to make it seem like anybody, even the best people, can be corrupted. Um, and so what is Joker's big thing of hoping to achieve? If he's able to do it, he can just brag to Batman that he's right and then get captured, and that's it. That I feel like that is one of the most boring villain motivations in a superhero film that I've seen in a long time. Even a sort of generic, he just wants to take valuable stuff. Where I mean, that could be a boring motivation, but if he's being entertaining, and that could at least be fun. But the Joker is not really that much fun. I feel like there is some fun that comes from Heath Ledger's performance. His line delivery really does work. And it's sort of odd where the performance for the Joker is entertaining, but a lot of his dialogue is boring. A lot of boring conversations with a bunch of boring guys in suits. It feels like they could have had a much more interesting character for him to talk about. It's cool that Sal Maroni's there, but they could have brought in Oswald Cobblepot the Penguin. That could have been a way to work him into a story in Black Mask. That would have been so much more fun, interesting if Joker was having conversations with them instead of a bunch of boring generic characters that are extremely forgettable, except for Sal Maroni. The others are just super boring. And a lot of the characters in the film are boring, which is unfortunate. And Batman's not terribly likable in the movie with his Rachel obsession and how he treats Harvey, and that's not great. And then Harvey becomes a jerk at the end, so then he stops being likable. Um, it's mostly the supporting characters that are likable, and the film needs the main characters to be enjoyable for the film to fully work. Can't just let characters like Alfred save the film. There needs to be more to the film than that. So, The Dark Knight is an even more boring film than Batman Begins, and that is very unfortunate. Big step down for the Batman franchise. Is it a technically professionally edited, directed film and all that stuff? All that technical film stuff is there, and it is very well done, but it doesn't stop the film from being boring. I would much rather watch the Tim Burton Batman films, 1966 Batman film, and yes, even the Joel Schumacher Batman films. They're way more fun, have way more of a personality. Batman's more likable in them, so The Dark Knight was a step in the wrong direction for the franchise, in my opinion.